folks, the board meeting of the Blueberry Fields Cooperative will now come to order. Today is August 22nd. It's now 6:14 p.m. How about now? Can you hear me now? I was just corrected. This is a membership meeting. It's not a board meeting. So this meeting is truly all about you folks. So just to get started, just want to welcome a couple of people. We have, as you know, our board member. You've become very familiar with our 11-member board. We're missing one person this evening. And our residents, members, and we have increased that membership in the last 2 days. It's just momentous. Lots of folks are coming forward. And we have a guest, Carol O'Donnell, is here to support us, as she's done so often in these last several months. And then some of our key players are Nora Goslin and Pat Schwebler from CDI. Just a couple of housekeeping items. Is that better? Was it hissing at you?
No.
Oh, okay. I'll try and talk louder. I'm trying to breathe at the same time. So if you could, please silence your phones. The exits, I think most are familiar with, but if you're not, the one that you came in, there's another one behind us, back through those doors. The restrooms are also back through those doors. And because we'll have lots of folks talking tonight, it's really important to raise your hand if you want to speak. We'll get a mic over to you, and then you can say your part, and then we'll answer your questions as best we can. Again, this format tonight, it's not business as usual. There will be no meeting minutes, no treasurer's report. What happened?
Yeah, Chris,
Right there.
he's adjusting.
Hold your face right now.
Hold my face just like that?
Yep.
Don't move.
Chris.
I can't talk without moving.
Chris.
So as of 4 p.m. this afternoon, I recorded 176 members from last year. That's huge. And as some of you folks are well aware, lots more have come in since then. So we've been aiming for 200. Let's see if we can do that between now and tomorrow night at 5 p.m. That's our cutoff. So we need, for our vote, we need the 51% of all residents to vote. So we're still looking for that number that we're looking for when we did the petitions way back in the beginning of this exercise. So please, if you have neighbors that can't get out or maybe need a ride here, let's get the village together and bring folks in. So just a little bit of PR. It's very entertaining. It keeps me laughing. 6+ months ago, we had our first meeting here. 6+ months, back in February. I had to look back because it just didn't seem right to me. And here we are, 42 hours away from our big vote that we've been anticipating all this time. We've overcome, so far, every obstacle and challenge that was presented to us. Number one, getting Mr. Scarponi to accept our offer. Remember that? We believe, yes, we can make this happen, and he did. Then our appraisal came in, met the value that we offered, and more. And our inspections showed what we knew. Our infrastructure is 70 years old, but it's well cared for. That being said, as we learned last week for folks that attended the meeting and heard from Du Bois, we do have some work to do. We have to maintain these systems and do some repairs. We expected that. we did hear that it was in good shape. That's what they told us when they departed. But I'm not surprised to hear that we do have some work to do. And as we learned just this past week, in response to that need, Nora found somewhere, she pulled out of her magic hat, $300,000.
Not me personally.
I know, but you bring these things to us. So Genesis brought us $300,000 in grant money to help with those repairs. How we vote on Saturday determines what happens next. If we obtain the votes we need, we continue with our due diligence, obtaining the property survey, then we become the new owners. How does that feel? Before we begin our questions and answers, just a few words of thanks. Our volunteers are tireless. Yesterday afternoon and evening delivered 277 packets to residents. So please give them a hand. And that included board members and some residents. And there's one lady that I'm going to pick out of this crowd, if I can find Barbara. Just thank you. She went above and beyond. She helped us out in the time of need. And then, as many of you said to me when you came through the door tonight, and your words mean the world. You elected us, 11 people here to represent you. Please know, we work hard, we're here with you, and we work behind the scenes. And while our history has taught us to be suspicious of our politicians, please understand, we have nothing to gain from the decisions that we make. We as a group will benefit from this. And we appreciate your input very much. And our funding sources, I don't know about you folks, but I was blown away when I heard what kind of support we were getting. That's just amazing. The state wants to help us, the town wants to help us, Genesis, and we had other offers that we said, well, no thank you, but no thank you. Like, wasn't that nice that we had choices? And finally, and most importantly, CDI. We wouldn't be here today without the guidance of this young dynamo, Laura Dawson. And Pat Schrebler, who's always here with us and supporting us. And many of the other folks that are supporting us from CDI. I don't know if you've looked at their website, but they've got quite a team of people. So we are the precedents. We are the hope for others who make this journey after our success. All residents who work together as a village to support us. So, on that note, I would like to open up the floor to anybody that would like to ask a question.
I think if people come up to this mic right here, is that the plan, Chris?
Yeah,
Or do you want me
so
to
I've
run
got
it?
this mic right here, and it's got a real long cord, so if you can't come up to it, it can get about 3/4 of the way out there.
And if anyone needs, we'll bring it back to you, so,
What's the
Oh,
exact
sorry.
number of votes?
Oh.
Hello? What's the exact number of yes votes we need on Saturday? Yes votes. I know how you said 51 votes. 51% of the votes, but they have to all be positive. So 51% positive votes?
We need 139 yes votes.
Into the microphone, please.
139 yes votes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
because
51%.
it's 51, it's
But
50
do they all
plus
have
one.
to be yes? Yeah. So
I think we talked about at a meeting, can everyone hear me? I see the one person in the farthest back nod, so that's why I feel good. I think we had talked about the meeting 2 weeks ago that it was dependent on who the lender was. One team of lenders had a higher requirement. The team that you ended up with, which is Maine Housing and Genesis, have indicated that they want to see the same level of support that you did for the petition process. They said if it's the standard of the law, we don't expect anything different. So it would be 51% yes, same as when you started this process. So it sounds like, Zach, that's 138? 139.
Of everyone.
That's a good clarification. 51% of all households, which your membership is now 168? 176. So that's good. You build in a buffer of people who will be voting no, potentially.
And now we just have to get them all to show up or fill out their ballots. We're going to send a bus around the neighborhood.
Short bus. Short bus.
Any questions or comments? This is really open. Like, you know, you've heard this group talk a lot over the last few months. This is your meeting, so I'll bring a mic.
Oh, did someone else have a?
Give your exercises.
I know.
That's a tough score.
Where was it? Let's do that one.
Chat won't read.
I feel like you sit in the same place every week.
You probably can make
Let's see how far we get.
It should be close to third.
Yeah. Better than nothing, right?
pulled apart. You couldn't get that far.
Me.
I'll work on this.
Thanks. It takes a team.
Yeah, you're on.
You were doing a lot Saturday professionally than I was trying to. Yes, yes.
By 10 o'clock today, that address, 42
Sir, I think it's right under your legs.
No, it's not.
Oh, no?
We're trying not to hold it.
I forgot. It's near and dear to everyone in here. When can we expect to see the lease?
Just the one.
Well, are we going to have to sign something to say?
Yeah, I can answer that.
Us?
Sir, next Saturday, sir, you have to set up front. I'll reserve a seat for you.
So the question on the lease, if you vote yes, probably we'll have another, honestly, most groups decide to have a party, pizza party, you get a big banner, and they do a lease signing, like, shebang. You get the lease in advance of that, and the rent increase wouldn't go into effect until October 1st to give you 30-day written notice. So you can expect to see the lease probably within the next, you vote Saturday, week or 2 weeks, and then you can review it, take your time with it, and come maybe to a party on slightly after the closing, so the 3rd or 4th week of September. And it's a perpetual lease, so you're only signing one. The term is forever if you follow the rules and pay the rent. So you don't need to go through another lease signing every year, basically.
No, this is great.
Okay, two questions. From last week's meeting, I'd like to hear the board's recommendation on the Southern Maine property management, what you came up with, what he came up with. And number two, since we're closing on the middle of September, do we all start home and just tack them on?
I can
answer two if the board wants to do one. Do you want to do one first?
Unless you wanna do two first.
You go.
The board collectively, the majority of us are recommending Southern Maine. We met with Brandon, the owner, three of us board members met with him on Tuesday, and we went over with a fine-tooth comb the document that we really all struggled with so much here last Thursday night. And he was very amenable. He didn't agree to everything, but he agreed to the important parts for us. And please trust us, I'm a real stickler when it comes to contracts. And so the next step after we vote, we will take his revised document and our attorney will review that prior to us signing it. So that is our recommendation. We felt for a number of reasons. We liked his presentation, and I think 2 weeks ago most folks were impressed with him. We did some looking into his background, and he has good ratings according to what our board secretary, Miranda Chung, has discovered. And we just had this feeling that because he is, he used the term that some folks didn't like, but it's, you know, he said boots on the ground, and Mr. Scarponi has used that same term. And it simply means that we're gonna take care of folks in a similar fashion, that we don't want someone to worry that they've gotta call some 800 number, and even though it's 24/7, then wait to see what's gonna happen. This young gentleman will be taking care of us. And we've talked about how we would like that to happen, and he's young, and he's hungry, and he wants our business, and he also has experience right from working in a mobile home park, doing the maintenance and that sort of thing. So it's like hiring an architect that was once a carpenter. You know, he has the background. So that's the way I look at it. I feel like he's gonna do a good job for us. And you know what, folks? We'll sign a 1-year contract with him. There's a way to bow out if his services were horrible, which I doubt will happen. We can close out the contract. But we have a means to approaching the 1-year mark to meet as a group and say, hey folks, what do you think? Did you like this guy? Did he take good care of you? If you think so, then maybe we'll vote him in again next year. So if there's any questions around that, I'm happy to answer them.
Maybe I could answer her second question and then we'll go for more questions. So for September, if you decide on Saturday to purchase, you would pay Mr. Scarponi your current rent full amount. And if you close in the middle of the month, so the closing would be September 16th, at the closing table, his lawyers and your lawyer, Matt, would basically prorate the rent, and you would get the equivalent of 14 days worth of rent to your cooperative, and he would walk away with 16 days worth of rent. Something that's good to just flag, I know from looking at his list of unpaid rent that it's not a problem whatsoever, but it is good to pay the last month because some of that money goes to your cooperative, and we just want to say that. Some people at this stage say, I'm done, but you get half a month of rent basically to get you started.
This table, I mean, this is, I started with the hard.
Closer.
Hold it.
I'll get them.
Oh.
I was just curious, what date our rent will be due?
Does the board,
Who makes that day?
do
First
you,
of the month.
The first of the month.
Well, right, but I mean, a fifth.
It's sort of a creature of habit. If we've been paying on the first of the month, anyone object to paying on the first of the month? Yes.
I have one comment on that. Many of us, our social security doesn't come in until a third.
Okay, so why don't we'll negotiate that and make it something that works for folks.
And I saw on the packet that the $20 incentive is no longer. Could that be prorated along with the increase of the rent until we get back to that? I think it's an incentive to get your payment in.
I liked it very much too, but I'm told that we maybe Nora, you can answer that. I'm not sure we decided that we weren't going to do that.
It's
I
on.
like it, but it's maybe not in our budget.
Yeah, I could speak. So most lenders don't really look favorably on something like that because you would be giving yourself a discount on a dollar amount that you need to run your business. So they kind of look at it like, if down the line you're finding that it's really just when your operating bills hit, your mortgage is going to be pulled in the middle of the month, every month. So if you're finding that most of your bills are coming due at the end of the month and your cash flow is fine and it's not a problem, we have some groups that run very tight. So if they don't get rent at the beginning of the month, they're in for a real problem. With a community of your size, you might not have that much of a cash flow problem. You won't really see until you're into the midst of operating your business. So I think from a lender perspective, out the gate, they're kind of thinking, don't give yourself a discount to start, get yourself set up with some coffers, get your operating account, looking healthy and full. And if you're a couple years into ownership and you're really, you really want to bring that back, at the end of the day, it's a membership decision. You would vote to put it back into effect,
Maybe year 6 would be a good time for that.
Yeah.
But it was 5 days we had.
So you still, yeah, I would say, and what's the law in Maine? How long is it until rent? Is it 5 days until it's late in Maine?
15th, and then I think it is, if I want to say the 26th, if the rent is due on the 1st. Don't quote me on that.
So Pat is just saying, and we'll look it up, it's the 15th is until it's due by law.
It's considered late on the 16th of the month.
It's considered late on the 16th of the month if it's due on the 1st.
Correct.
So you have a buffer either way.
Okay.
I know.
Next is, where can you leave a check after?
So I think that some of this just depends on which property management company we choose. They gave us options about mailing a check to like a lockbox, or mailing a check to them, or paying online. It just depends on which company that we choose and what they offer.
Brandon said he would pick up checks.
Yeah, is there a place?
Brandon said we would pick up checks if we had a Dropbox. He would pick up checks. So we'll put them in Ernie's blue box.
Ernie's.
Did anyone see Ernie's blue box? We ran into a snafu with our box for absentee ballots, and Ernie came to the rescue.
You don't need to ask about the craftsmanship.
We appreciate you, Ernie.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
What's next for questions? Did I answer that okay?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the $20 discount is as long as you pay by the 5th, by start loaning. So I always thought that that's what the grant was too. I always make sure mine goes in on the 4th. So I'm not sure what the first is really what is required. And again, because it's Social Security, for those people that did it on the 3rd.
But it's not late until after the 15th.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think we're all being.
Yes.
Yes.
But not with this company.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing.
Well, it's state of Maine law.
So I think what I would recommend is once you decide on property management, get them to come speak at the podium, figure out where you're paying rent and what you want to structure for due date. I would recommend between the 1st and the 5th for when it's due.
And then bring all your other questions for him as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about Social Security. My birthday's on the 8th of the month, and if the 8th comes on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, I get paid that Wednesday. But if the 8th of the month comes on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, you gotta wait until the following Wednesday. So some of us get our Social Security checks in the middle of the month, the end of the month, I mean, whenever your birthday is.
Well, I don't think we should worry too much about this. We can talk about this when the time comes, as Nora said. We'll make it work for folks. We're not gonna make your lives miserable and give you something to worry about.
Right, but you know you're gonna get it in the month anyway. So it's no big deal, it's just that we don't all get our checks on the 1st of the month.
I get one of those.
Yeah, so, anyway, thanks. Oh, by the way, I just wanna thank you for everything you've done. You're amazing, this whole group is amazing. And, yeah, it's so fun. The new friends that just come up with, I couldn't believe it, I almost had a heart attack. Just,
We almost did too.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. It's amazing, and you've done a great job, so just
Well,
want to
we
thank you.
had, as I said, our dynamo was really leading that effort to get us money and get us as many benefits as we could get to make this happen for us. So you could give Nora a hand as well.
Just one other point, I've never seen a group charge a late fee for rent. Like, if it's paid in a month, you would make the decision, right? And like Janet said, you don't want to penalize your neighbors when you're all in the same boat. And I would want to just, for the sake of everyone getting praise, Carol and the town, and then the state, Maine Housing, and Genesis, that's where the money came from. I did not write a check for $300,000, just to clarify. If I could do that, I would have done it at the beginning of this process,
But you work for it. Did Kurt agree to a separate water meter for his garage, et cetera, before the sale? Remember how his garage is still on?
The one across the street?
Yes.
Yeah, one, I believe that's on a separate meter. If not, he's gonna have to get it modified.
Well,
it will need to be put on.
right. Did he agree to that? Was that brought up?
I'm pretty sure it was. I'll have to look, Barbara. I can't, honestly, I don't recall the answer to that.
And it was flagged for him, and it's not in writing yet, but he knows that that's gonna be an expectation. So before, we need to show him if we have financing committed, which is why we're voting on Saturday. If you don't have financing committed, we're not gonna get to that granular, but he knows that that's the expectation. Same way as like clearing out some of the stuff that's still on the property, which you're buying, clearing out an office. So that's a good point to raise, and your attorney will make sure that that's handled at the closing. And then I can pass that question.
Yeah, there was a question from the floor, and I was a little nervous about trying to bring that wire all the way to the back. So the question was this. The member understands that CDI, after you close on your community, CDI comes in and trains the board. And she was wondering, would membership be welcome to observe those trainings so they could learn exactly what the board's responsibility is? And then maybe down the road, they might want to be a board member. I did share, we also do membership trainings as well, and community-wide trainings, but I'll let Janet talk to that.
I would love for you to attend. Just don't throw anything at us, please, if we mess up. No, I think it's really helpful. I've been a businesswoman for 40 years, and I've always believed in cross-training and having, knowledge that should be spread. So wouldn't have a problem with that at all. I would welcome that. I hope the rest of the board agrees with me.
When I bought my trailer in, I think it was 2019, it came in and it had wheels and axles, and then when those were removed, and then I have behind the rear garage. If I need those, do they come back to me?
I believe they come with the business.
Yeah, he's not, I would say same with the water, sub-metering off the garage, and anything that is like along those lines, he's indicated he's trying to get out, and he wants to get this closed. And I think that we can make sure that everyone we should just create a list basically, so if other people are in the same boat, we would need to be getting that information to the board, like as soon as you know that they're buying, because we need to be able to present something kind of cohesive, this is what we're gonna need back. And then we'll work off, obviously, on something here in the garage. And then as you get closer to the closing, you'll also do like an owner's walk around, right? Where you'll go, the board, a representative will go into one office place to make sure that's in good condition, kind of inspect the whole property just to make sure that there wasn't any 11th hour nonsense. So you can really pass the keys over, so to speak, in a clean and proper way. So if anyone's in the same boat, either put it to me or put it to a member of the board in writing, or come up after and let us know, so we can really have kind of specifics. Oh, everyone has that situation, and you kept all 277? Oh, okay, so it sounds like not everyone's in this situation.
I have
Along with that, there is sheds and steps and cement blocks and all that, that I would assume would go with the sale also.
Yeah.
Okay.
And did everyone hear that? So you're saying that there's sheds and there's stairs that you're.
Beside the big garage.
Yeah, by the garage. Yeah, we'll make sure that all comes with the sale, yeah. The only thing he said he wanted to keep was the contents of the garage and the contents of one office space inside the building.
I think everybody's really curious why he wanted all that. Is to sell it off?
Yeah, that guy's meticulous, his organization in there. That is unbelievable.
We had a few questions, Nora, from the floor as the sun is shining in my eyes. The first question was the Southern Maine Property Management Company, were they also recommending $25 a door?
Does the board want to speak to that?
Yes, all three companies to offer the full package of finance and maintenance of the property, they came in at $25 per door.
And then there's two questions the gentleman wrote down here. Some homes pay for a deluxe spa that are not a deluxe spa. Can we get some of these spots reassessed? That was question one.
I'm not gonna say no to that, but I think we would need to do some work around it and find out what really is. I got a list from Kathy because I was told if I went into the office, I could look at a map and it had a key that said which were the different sites. And I looked at my home first and I said, well, that one's not right. So Kathy, Kurt said to, ask Kathy to put together a list for me, and she gave it back to me when I went back on my bicycle an hour later, and I've handed that off to Nora. So I guess maybe what we should do is create a list and have everybody say what they think that they have and what they should have. That's all I can say. I don't know any more than that.
And then question number two. Question number two is this. People that come in the summer with their RVs pay $550 a month. Shouldn't we raise that price?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a decision that you would make you would vote on that as a membership. So that's probably something you would decide after purchase, probably to go into effect summer 2025. The assumptions now are that you're not, but you have the power, to change that, basically. And that money would go into your co-op's bank account, for you to just, have more cash flow to do what you will with it.
I was just going to add to that and suggest that, just like we've done with so many other decisions here, is to do our homework and find out what it would cost them to go elsewhere. We don't want to work our way out of something that brings us some extra money, but we don't want to give it away either.
Yeah. I think she had a.
Yeah, hi. I lived there 28 years in my spot, and when I first moved in, I lived on Patina, and they said that they would give me a deal to live on Patina, that they would call it a standard lot, which probably it's bigger than a standard lot, but for years, they gave me reduced pay, and then years later, they said, okay, no more. You're living on a deluxe lot, and our rent went up. So I don't know, I think the whole street of Patina probably got the same thing, and I don't know how many other streets. I think that when I went to a deluxe, the people, my neighbor Sandy went to a super deluxe. Over by the pond, so they did change some things. So, if that helps.
We would like your input on all this, because quite frankly, I don't know, I've only been here for a year.
Right.
So I don't have a
Yeah.
lot of input, but I'm sure collectively we'll come up with the right answer that's fair and reasonable, that's what
Yeah.
we're looking for.
Yeah, and I understand, I don't live on a standard, and I don't live on the bigger lot, so I get it why we're in the middle. But I'm just saying that that's something that they did, and some people that have lived there a long time might have been in that predicament as I was.
Well, I felt, I looked at mine, and I've got a lovely spot right on the backside of the brewery fields, and it was called a standard lot, but I've been paying for a deluxe, which I'm okay with that, I love my
Yeah,
back
it's
there.
beautiful back there.
Except for in the winter when the wind blows.
Yeah, yeah.
I just tripped on it.
Do we know what the actual measurements are that constitute whether you live on a standard or a deluxe or super deluxe? Do we have the measurements for that, or, has it ever been?
I don't know if there's been a real strict standard, but Nora says she's got something to say about that.
I think this is a good point. As far as we can tell, this deluxe, super deluxe standard, for the most part, has been like pulled out of Kurt's
Kid.
area, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it is a tough situation, because like, it's a standard, but my experience there, I got this view, it's deluxe, and then someone else is like, well, I'm just on really big, and it's clear, like, some are bigger. I think this came up because obviously most people pay either $480 or $530, and I think there was some feedback that taking that $100 step from this tier, some people felt like, where did this come from? But what about the next generation of people living here? I think the board gave a lot of thought about like how to do this in a way that was both like toning the line between simple, straightforward. If you got a packet that said, okay, now we're going to do this equation where we reimagine the entire, it was kind of like, let's keep some of the familiar as we do this really bold thing and new thing. And if you get 2 years into it or 1 year into it, and you're doing the right math so that you're taking in this amount you need to take in to pay your bills, you can come up with a different structure, I guess. It was kind of like a, don't let perfection be the enemy of good, or whatever that expression is. Kind of make it straightforward and simple to start. And I'm looking at the board because you guys all have this conversation if anyone has anything to add. And then if it's not feeling right or fair, like make it simple, right? Simplify it, standardize it, do it a different way, As far as we can tell, there's no measurements. There's not a lot of consistency. It has been kind of based off of just intuition or, yeah.
So here, and then back.
Nora, can I just jump in for 1
I just
second?
wanted to say, just about the deluxe sites and stuff, don't forget, some of you people have a concrete pad underneath your house, some of us have dirt. So, and then some of us don't have a view, some people do have a view, some have big yards, some have small yards, so there is a big variable in that. But, or some of them have double wide, some have a little single wide. So there's a big difference in between everything. It's not just the size of the property.
Believe Nora when she says we struggle. One of the meetings that you said, what are you guys doing when you have executive session? Well, if you smelled smoke, that was from us trying to say, like, how do we take this myriad way of assigning cost to somebody's home and try and come up with a method that's going to be fair and reasonable to increase our costs and make it, try and bring it back to fair and reasonable when it really hasn't been to begin with. So please bear with us. We really want to get this right, and we'll keep working at it. But we've got to start with a number, as Nora said, and then we as a group will make some decisions as we go down the road. And we don't want it to be unfair to anyone. I mean, we talked about how about the folks that their price right now is different because they have a guest come. So there's a lot of variables here. We understand.
I saw these hands, then I'll come here, and then in red. As I walk over here, I like Springsteen shirt, just wanted to say that. I'm gonna collide with people.
I saw your hand.
Yeah.
I had heard that some of the newer people that coming into the park rose the rent higher than it should have been for the new people. I got wind of that.
I don't know, are you talking about like between last August and now?
Probably.
But no, that can't be the case because he passed away.
Well, whenever, I was talking to someone that talked to a new neighbor of his, and they talked about their rent, and her rent was higher, and she just lived in a standard lot, and I think that they were, the newer people, they were not knowing that people talked, were making it higher, so I guess my fear is if everybody pays $100 more, hopefully these people that were not supposed to be paying more, to be fair, that they're not.
Again, unless it was something that was applied randomly, my rent was the same as what was posted on the sheet.
You would think, but.
Well, mine was, I'm just saying, I can't speak for other people.
Right, yeah, well.
And I just moved in last year, so.
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully everybody's as fair.
I would like to just say to the board, as others have, that I trust what you're doing is for the common good. It's for all of us. And I think we should just let that process work its way out after we purchase. And there can be adjustments, like you're saying, for the next year or two, until finally it's all worked out. And the same thing with any of the lots that are vacant now, and we're gonna try to get them occupied. So I think it's just a matter of working it out. We live in a larger lot on a double wide. If we have to pay more, that's okay with us. We realize we are taking up more space. Let's say it that way. My daughter had this is a couple of years ago, a trailer on Scarponi looking over the blueberry field. Was a standard. When she moved in, kid came over and looked at it and said, oh, you've got this extra lot next to you. So you're actually a deluxe or super deluxe. Do you want to know what was in that extra lot? Have you seen all those plastic pipes sticking out of it? And she wasn't even knowing it. You know, if you can tell how much your lot is by how much you mow, that might be a good indicator. But, you know, I mean, like the gentleman in the back said, there are so many variables in this property. You can't figure it all out. But let's give you time to figure it out.
At the beginning of this process, the board was called the acquisition board. I'm curious as to whether these two people are going to become a permanent board or they're going to be new elections.
The way I understand it because I asked Nora the question recently, because some things I remember really well and other things I don't. So Nora said that if we had a mass exodus, so if half of our very capable and wonderful board decided they wanted to bail out, that we would have a new election with all the members. However, if there were one or two people that needed to be replaced, you know, vacancy, then we would just vote in those folks. So I guess you need to just tell these folks how wonderful they are, and maybe they'll decide to stay.
So let me answer one question, and then I'll come to your question, and then I'll hand the mic to the hands here. So one question was asked, which is, how can they get away with charging $10 more for a home, like a double wide that's on a concrete slab, when that's the requirement of the law? Did I get the question right? Yes. So the answer I would say is, because there's no law or any type of like regulation around what they can charge, what I would imagine, you know, is that they just use that as a justification to charge more money. They said it was tied with the slab, the same way, like, he came and looked and said, this is a nice view, I think this is worth $20 more. So it's really tied to the fact that there isn't any type of requirement around what the rent basis is. And unlike in other states, in Maine, you can charge different rents for different households, whereas in other states, everyone has, all classes of membership have to pay the same rent. And so that's probably the justification. And then the question about when you would vote the board in. So if you decide to purchase, probably in the next few weeks, you're gonna need to have another membership meeting. And if you're thinking this is a lot of meetings, I promise you it quiets down. There's not this much membership meeting and membership voting on stuff once you're like, in the flow of being resident owned. But you would need to come together to pass your permanent bylaws. Right now you have that skinny 3-page acquisition bylaws. Obviously, managing a $26 million property, you need something with a little bit more heft in it. In those bylaws, which the board made the decision, let's not stick them in the packet because 20 pages in there already is kind of a lot. Let's not add another 20 pages and give people like the dictionary to read. So you'll get them separately, but they will kind of outline when you will take your votes. I would imagine we'll pull them together in the next 2 weeks. Yeah. And we have a template that we use with every resident-owned community that we'll recommend. The board has already started to go through it and make edits as they see fit, what works for your community. Same as everything else in this process, it goes to you all. You say if you like it or not. If you need to change it, you can do so in the context of a meeting like this. Most groups, the terms are for 2 years. Am I saying that right? Yeah, 2 years. And you stagger them. So, if you purchase and your purchase is effective September 16th, most likely your fiscal year will run from October 1 to September 30th. So your annual meeting would probably be in August of every year, which is a good time to have it because it's not like the groups that we have that have annual meetings in November and we're all freezing. So every August, let's call it, or September, you would take a vote. And when you establish yourselves, you would stagger. So say president, secretary, and 2 directors at large are up, just even in odd years, and they would serve for 2-year terms. I think that answers the question, right? So keep an eye out for the permanent bylaws. They will be your constitution for your, fully functioning, fully lifted and launched resident-owned community. So I saw, who was I?
I'm a little confused. Someone living on a deluxe lot is paying more rent than I am on a standard lot, correct? And their rent is going up $100, just like my rent is going up $100. And I just needed that clarification. Thank you.
When is the one-time $100 going to be due?
Someone on the board can answer that?
So we have not voted on whether it will remain $1 or it will go up to 50 or the maximum would be 100. So we will vote on that as a group.
I would recommend when you are coming together to pass your bylaws. When you're resident-owned, it is hard to get a quorum. So we want to stack votes so people feel like they don't have to come out every week. So I would recommend you probably stack passing your bylaws, what your membership fee is going to be, all into one. Maybe it's the same meeting where you sign your leases. Maybe there's pizza there. Just try and get people in the door. Same as, yeah, and that will be public.
Do more.
I want to send some love to, is it Chris doing sound? This is the first meeting that I've been to where I could really comfortably hear it. It makes a huge, huge difference. So thank you so much.
And he brought us pizza tonight.
Not for everyone.
I'll go back there. I just want to really stress, I've done this with dozens and dozens and dozens of groups. having Chris do all the time and effort and the energy that he has done to make it, I know it's been a struggle with some of the microphone iterations, but you know, you put a lot of time to this. And recording, like, unreal. You know, I didn't trip over this every time, we'd be in better shape.
You're stretching stuff, Laura. You're stretching.
Oh, I'm not. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. It's like Christmas Eve. I'll come over.
I made it harder than that.
There you go.
Just a quick question regarding the membership fee. What is its purpose? Where does it go? Is it mainly just to show commitment, or, you know, is there a real difference between $1 and $100? Is it a benefit or what?
It just shows that you own one share in the business.
So it's just
And it would be returned to you when you leave. It'll be just sitting in an account.
Okay.
Maybe, hopefully, depending on how much we charge, we could earn some interest on it.
Okay.
But if it's $1,
So it's more or less just a commitment.
correct.
Okay.
Buy pizza. Buy pizza.
Well, I would say, not to be a party pooper, the money is is held aside, so if anyone moves out, it is kind of a pain for the treasurer, but they do get their buy-in back. So just, you know,
Rain on the parade.
He said he's gonna give it out in rolls of pennies.
I heard a couple of different answers to Saturday. Are we having a meeting and a vote, or just a vote?
Both. Any folks that wanna come forth with more questions, and then we count our numbers.
and on Saturday, there will also be a presentation on the packet. So I'll talk it through and the board will jump in at any point. Kind of, the goal is some people learn this way, right? Some people are like, saw that, didn't read a single part of it. And we kind of have to factor both in. So there'll be a brief, like, I'm saying 10, 15 minutes talking through what's in that packet, and then more question answer, board speaking, kind of probably similar to what Janet said at the top for all the people that didn't come tonight.
We'll know the results of the vote Saturday.
Yeah, most groups will have 2 random volunteers who are not board members come on up as the vote counters. So they'll kind of be working as people mingle, and then the votes are announced in the same meeting.
Are we gonna look for volunteers on that? Who are we gonna get to do that?
It's on sat, like it's just like who wants to count. Okay. Yeah, you kind of want to make it as random as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone on the board?
Shortest
Oh.
meeting we've had.
What's gonna happen if you guys don't get the number of votes you need?
So if you don't get the number of votes, we would tell Mr. Scarponi that you are not going to proceed, and you would terminate the agreement, and the lender that stepped forward to pay the deposit would be refunded their deposit. That's why the time crunch, it has to happen before September 1st, because that's your financing commitment deadline. And then he would move forward and sell it to the third party. And I would expect that would happen within, like, by the end of the year. You know, he would sell it to the different party.
Right, okay, but we still have another 2 weeks till the end of the month, till September 1st.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get the votes, is there a possibility of having a revote or getting out to try to get people to come in?
I've had this happen. So when I was saying to the question about some lenders require higher thresholds. So in a couple instances, I've had groups where some people just didn't show up like you're suggesting, and they were really close, right? So we needed like 12 more votes or something. And that board decided that they wanted to go contact those other people who hadn't voted and kind of anonymously say, can you just vote? So that has happened before. If that's the situation you're in, I present it to the board and decide what they want to do. It's not the thing I'm the most comfortable with, because I think it can call into question the legitimacy of the whole vote. And if someone, the thinking on one side is if someone doesn't vote at all, that's not a no vote. That could be, I work and I didn't get an absentee ballot. but I think it's a little iffy. So I think what I'd recommend is try and get as many people here on Saturday, especially people who have not all the familiar faces. Try and get the new faces in the room. You only got to do it once. It is so much more painful, in my experience, to go through, let's go find more votes. It's so much work on the board because these are the people that have to go contact the people that don't show up. So, does that answer the question? How do you know who didn't show up? Because when people come in on Saturday, they'll be ticked off, basically. Okay, so-and-so's a member, so-and-so's a member. And then the absentee ballots, people wrote on the larger envelope, and we'll split it so it's still anonymous, but we will know who voted absentee as well. If it sounds like I've gone through this before, I've gone through this before, and it is really stressful. Other questions? Comments? Anyone from the board?
Oh, go for it, Celeste. Actually, I think there's a mic.
Is it on? Can you hear me? All right. I just want to say, after our meeting last week, I started doing a lot of research into duties and responsibilities of boards. And what I found is that being a member and a board member of a cooperative is much harder than being a board member of a huge corporation. We stand here and we have duties and responsibilities to people that we see and live with all the time. It's not just go in and vote yay or nay. I've been on other boards and that's about all they wanted us to do, donate some money, have a fundraiser. This has been the most emotionally hard board I've been on because we really wanted to make sure that we had a rent increase that people could live with. And I was, thank you. I was very gratified yesterday that people would look at it and say, oh, I can live with that. You know, I can live with that. It is hard, but we've also done our due diligence to find resources for people that may have a problem with it. I'm on Social Security too, so it's something that was, you know, as you heard about Bowdoin, but yeah, Walt, sorry, Walt. Bowdoin, they were purchased by a company, and their rent has been going up and up and up every single year, $181 in a few years, since 21. And the company basically told them something that wasn't true. They said it was because of increased taxes. Their taxes went down. So by us purchasing the park, we control our destiny. We control what happens with our neighbors. All of us live here as a board. We are responsible. There are laws that we work under. We do the best for you, and that's what we've been doing in our meetings. And we've looked at our property management companies. We've bounced it around. We feel that Brandon is a good choice, and we met with him, and he seems very responsible and very committed to people in the mobile home. So I'm hoping that you will talk to your neighbors. Tomorrow is the cutoff for being a member of the co-op and being able to vote. And for $1, you can control your destiny. So please talk to your neighbors and just urge everybody to vote. Thank you.
And I'll just share what Celeste was mentioning, that community in Bowdoin, that's Mountain View Estates, and News Center Maine just published an article yesterday about their ever-increasing lot rents. They were bought out by Phillips International, which I understand is one of the big buyers. I've posted that article on our website, so you can find it. Also posted a podcast. I mean, there's a whole industry around investing in mobile home parks and then getting those rents just as high as you can to make a profit. So as you've heard us say countless times, we are not doing this to make a profit. We're doing this for you. We're doing this for us. We're doing this for our neighbors to secure affordable housing for the long run. So we'll take the known increase rather than an unknown, never-ending increase over many years. And I also wanted to share there's some resources. A few weeks ago, Carol O'Donnell had organized a wonderful panel of guests who shared some resources. They were from CEI, that's Coastal Enterprises Incorporated, and the Town of Brunswick Finance Director and the Town of Brunswick Director of Human Services. I believe we have some packets here. Where will those be? Pat's got some packets. So there's, for example, the Town of Brunswick has a property tax assistance program for seniors. If you'd like some information on that, we have the applications here. And I think we'll also be sending out resources via email, because we still acknowledge $100 is a lot for some families, for some households. So we're also here to share resources as we can, and know that your neighbors have got your back.
Yes, can we answer something for you? I think this is going to be our shortest meeting ever. You have to remind me of you.
Okay, I've lived in Lincoln for 45 years. I don't pay taxes. When this whole thing goes through, am I gonna have to pay taxes again?
Nothing will change on that. The corporation will co-op will be paying taxes on the land. If you're not paying taxes now, you won't be paying taxes then.
I have one thing to say on that. One of the gentlemen that came, he said if you don't pay taxes yearly, for some of the resources, you would have to file a return just to qualify for that help.
Yep, property tax assistance.
Yeah, the property tax
And
assistance.
if you don't need that, then you don't have to do that.
But if you don't need it, you don't.
I have a comment from the woman in the corner of the room. She wants everyone to know that she spoke to Michelle Gibbons, who was the person that came here last time or the time before, and presented all the programs that she has to help folks, and from CEI. And Michelle told Susan that when you vote to become a cooperative, that she will come back, do presentations, and help folks. And I think, as Michelle had said, she works with us already, CDI in Maine, and is very helpful in our ROCs. Also, Susan wants everyone to know that people are already reaching out, and if you do move to become a cooperative, there are vendors that are willing to work on a cooperative basis to ideally help you lower your costs, like Dead River, for oil, for propane. So she just wanted you all to be aware of that. Thanks.
I think, Janet, we got another.
I just want to send a quick reminder on the same note that there is that funding available through Habitat for Humanity for the critical repairs program. So I know that even Mr. Scarponi helped a gentleman. I heard this last night, that he actually went to the person's home and helped the man fill out the paperwork and drove him to Bath to submit it. So it's a good program. We have paperwork up here for that as well.
Speaking of discounts, right now we who are on propane gas enjoy the contract price with Dead River for Scarponi, something like $2.49, somewhere in that range. Will that go away? Will we be floating for the public?
I talked to personally, the manager of Dead River, who started this whole thing at the pizza party years ago, when I moved in 9 years ago. He said he would work on K1, he would work everything that was in here, the heating oil, he will work to lower it.
Good.
So I'm gonna repeat good intel back here, but the mic is not reaching back there, that she personally spoke with the person at Dead River, who said that they want to ensure that all the discounts stay in place for you as a co-op, and the same for other vendors.
And Down East will do the same thing too. If sometimes you have to ask them, but they will meet Dead Rivers.
Any questions on the Habitat program in particular? Is it just for stairs? Janet, would you able to answer that?
No, it's not just for stairs. So, for folks that didn't attend the first meeting that we talked about this, a woman came to my home and gave me the lowdown on it. So they worked with the town of Brunswick and developed a pilot program, but the critical repair program has been in place for quite some time. But the town of Brunswick has given them $50,000 per year for 2 years to take care of just folks in Brunswick. So it's not just for stairs. It could be, I was visiting with a woman the other day who needs to get out of her home in a certain style wheelchair, and her doorway isn't wide enough to get out. So we're going to pursue that for her and see if Habitat would help that. I don't know if there are limitations other than income, and I think we talked about that in the information is on there. I believe it was 80% of the median. Yeah, Nora says yes. So it's not just for stairs, but you could certainly use it for that. I believe that they would come and do probably winterizing or other things. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, let me get you a mic. Let me get you a mic.
Ready to go.
I volunteer with Habitat, and if you have a repair that needs to be made, you make an application, they will come to your home and discuss it with you, and they will pay up to $1,500 for the repair. If you need a new roof, they'll discuss that with you, and we work out a plan, but they will pay up to $1,500 for any type of repair.
And that is just for materials, correct? Because the labor is volunteer?
The labor is volunteer, correct.
Thank you.
I took advantage of that, and I shouldn't say took advantage of it. I got 2 new storm doors, a new step, and I also went through another program and got a new heat pump for my home, and I love it. It's much better than oil any day. So if you have a chance to look into all these programs that are out there for you, do it, because they're there to help you.
You know what I would love to see is some means of powering our homes when the power goes out. You know, if we could get generators hitched up, that would be ideal. Because what do you folks do? I had a generator, thankfully, but I was delivering hot water in my grandpa's army blanket in one of those storms. It was cold.
Well, I'm concerned about the weather being warm on Saturday and people not showing up to vote. So, is there a way to reach one-on-one with residents who maybe only have a phone number and no Wi-Fi, and see if they need a ride to vote for an absentee ballot? So we need to encourage people to come on Saturday because it's going to be great weather. It's going to be 83 degrees, and I think a lot of people will not show up to vote.
If that's the case, we have to get an absentee ballot to them tomorrow, or to be able to pick up
We
by
need to
10 o'clock
encourage people. And so you have, whether people have a Wi-Fi or not.
We have a list, Robert, of the database that has folks' names, address, and if they provided it, a phone number and their email, if they have email.
Right, so should we call them to see whether they need a ride or something? We have a whole day tomorrow.
I'd be happy to. I put aside Thursday, Friday, Saturday of my life for this, so I'm happy to. I just have to.
I would volunteer also.
Anybody else want to help with that?
If people want to come up afterwards, I think it's most impactful if you're doing your own street. Also saves Janet from making 270 plus calls, or split with Barbara that's still, 135 each. So if you have a little bit of time tomorrow and wanted to just come up at the end of the meeting and offer prefer to do just your street, or even like the corner of your street, if you're on one of the longer streets. I do agree, I think reaching people, if there's ever a push and a crunch time, it's now. Saturday doesn't need to be a 2-hour meeting, unless you want to keep asking questions, which is also perfectly all right, but we do need people to come to vote. So just come on up afterwards and we can divide up streets and make the numbers available to the volunteers. I don't think we should just put them out there in the wind, but to a couple of volunteers. Just, Melissa, did you have something? I saw you had like.
I'm gonna update the signs that are at the mailboxes to let people know that they can just show up and vote on Saturday. And if they can't make it, I'm gonna put Tom and Janet's numbers so that they can call and say, please bring me a ballot so I can get my vote done. So if they can't make it to Saturday's meeting.
Other thoughts on this particular point that Barbara's raising? This is a good one.
I think it's just like you said, it's really important to reach out to the folks that are right around your home. If you pick 4 people and say, hey, you want to ride with me? That would be really helpful.
Do we have access to e-balance with us right now?
Yes.
And does anyone need one, like, tonight?
They did that as they came.
So we just, like, leave our vote tonight, or do we have to?
I would say if you're gonna be here on Saturday, it's a little bit, well, if you're gonna,
If you're gonna be here on Saturday, I would just vote on Saturday. But if you're here tonight and know you're not coming Saturday, absolutely, like Chris said, leave your vote. If you also want to vote Saturday, people, like was just said, can just show up at the start of the meeting and leave a vote and go to the beach after. I think some people sitting in the room, so it feels like when you count, maybe there's like a little celebration.
Some energy?
Yeah, rather than just 2 people sitting in the cafeteria counting hundreds of ballots, but also, out of respect, people can just leave a vote and go. And if you're leaving a vote tonight, you can leave it with Tom. Hawaiian shirt, perfect for the occasion, hats off.
So, like my husband just said, he'd like to, I was just wondering, are you gonna have the vote at the beginning of the meeting so we can leave a little early, or?
It will be, so we have a lot of familiar faces in the room tonight, and there could be people that come Thursday that come on Saturday, that were never able to make the Thursday meeting because of work or, something in their life. So I think you gotta, out of respect for those people who maybe, at the start of this process, you had 160 people in the room. So maybe Saturday afternoons work better, which is why the decision was made to make this Saturday. There will be a presentation on the packet, and then there will be the same thing that you had tonight, the question and answer. If it starts veering off and it starts being kind of specifics about being a resident-owned community, maybe the board kind of wants to call it and say, all right, these are details that aren't going to be needed unless we actually buy. So we don't need to make it 2 hours and then vote. I think it will most likely be like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then vote. Can I see a hand back there? Am I just hallucinating hands? So out of respect for,
Getting back to my wife's question, though, will we have a final tally at the end of that meeting? Exactly, yes.
Absolutely. And that will go out in email as well and probably posted, I'm looking at you, Melissa, maybe after the meeting by the mailboxes. You can just do a little rounding.
Exactly.
But it will be nice at the end of the meeting.
Yes, I can put an updated sign in the mailboxes to either say, congratulations, you've become rock, or unfortunately, you didn't get enough votes.
A sad face.
Yeah, very, very sad face.
But Miranda can post them on our website.
I'm hoping that we can, come together as a community and fulfill our own destiny and control our own rents and not live in fear of how much they're going to go up this year.
Do the white smoke, black smoke.
Yeah, it's like a poem.
So, do we see any more hands?
it's vacant for sitting there.
Well, what she just said about the rent not climbing, it sounds like it could go up though, possibility.
So this is a good question, and I'll definitely hit on this on Saturday, because some people have given me phone calls asking this question. So in that packet, you'll see that page that shows you the 6-year plan. So when that says estimates, someone said, why estimates, why not concrete? Really, the only reason your rent would go up is if your operating expenses go up, which we can't crystal ball. We don't know if they're going to go up 2% or 3%. We don't know if some things will go up and others won't. If they don't raise, if they don't increase, there's no reason to raise your rent. You would all have to come and decide that, and the board, working with CDI, would say, present to you, look, the water bill went up, or the plow mow went up. We gotta raise our rent $10. That's the only circumstance under which your rent would increase. So it's an estimate because we just can't say for certain what your operating increase will be, operating expense. It's still important to put in there because you have a 5-year interest only situation. I don't think it's good transparency and disclosure to say you have a 5-year interest only and not give you a sense of what that will look like when the loans convert to full payment. So the sole reason that's really in there is to show you the impact that converting to full payment, interest and principal will do on the rent, and that's the 115% bump. Someone wrote me and said, is it going to be 15% thereafter? Nope, it's just going to go up by that point. It will have stabilized. Everything will have been kind of like locked in on the mortgage side. So the only thing that would change is your operating.
It would go down eventually.
And if you pay off your mortgage, or if your operating expenses, they don't tend to go down, right? But you would come together and vote every year. And if you find ways to keep your costs lower, absolutely, you would be a beneficiaries of that, right?
Just want to interject with it.
You want to do your own.
One thing that would bring the cost down is if and when we vote and say that we're going to sell one office place, because until then we'd be paying to keep some heat running in there and that sort of thing. So we still have to maintain that building unless we sell it. Yes, taxes and insurance too. So we will also be moving forward to fill those vacant lots. That's on our radar as well. Yes.
I'm gonna go. I'll come here first, and then I'll make my way. We're gonna have to do
limbo. Speaking of vacant lots, do we know how the purchase and sale of new mobile homes will be administered or offered for new people that come into the park?
So that's something that the property management company can assist us with.
It is up to you. So, like the 2 guys that were on the speakerphone basically last week, their community, they sell their own homes. They have their own basically home selling business that's all volunteer run, and that money goes into their cooperative bank accounts. If you have the energy to do that and you want to do it, there's no reason why you can't. Or if you want to kind of pass that responsibility over to the property manager, your discretion basically. So we're doing a little bit of this. Oh, we're getting better at this.
That's teamwork.
If the occupancy rate goes up considerably, i.e. if we're at 13 vacancies right now, what's traditional in this park as far as the vacancy rate? I'm just saying that if we market properly and we are a self-owned community, we should be able to increase our occupancy rate. Therefore, when the expenses go down, if we have 95% occupancy.
That's true.
That was awesome. That was the best we've done it.
adjourn.
Does anyone want to adjourn? Does everyone want to call it? Good night. Please come Saturday. Bring your neighbors, your friends. Let's do this. Thank you, guys.